I left Harare, arrived in South Africa 1.5 days later. We don't have blankets. Can we please use these blankets? But these blankets are in a dusty mkuku. The blankets are dusty, the mattress is dusty, the pots and pans that are in the corner are dusty. The guy says, go ahead. Now here I am, standing for hours on end, ironing for other people. He's like, accountant, so why are you ironing? I'm like, it's just a stepping stone. I don't have money.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can do hair.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the breakdown of my mother's memoir, Shooting Through Concrete Walls. This is the 4th episode, and we have been healing, we have been encouraging, we have been doing a lot.
We've been getting closure.
We've been getting closure as well. We've been reliving. I've been also understanding my mother from her life experiences, like just getting to know more about her experiences and how we related to them as children. We were just so happy and happy go around, but she was going through a lot. It's just, getting to know all those things, I think puts things into perspective for me as an adult now, and how now I view life, and sometimes you view life, you're like, this is not making sense. And things have been like that, Sometimes you feel like it's just like not making sense starting from now, but
Do you
the
think
same things were happening to you, just in different cases.
different environments?
Like
Do you
there was
think
something
there's
I went through
Yeah.
that I was just like, like you're saying in the previous episode, in episode 3, you were saying, like, it just looked like life is not making sense the way that I know it should, like when the bad guys are being rewarded or something like that,
or getting away with murder?
exactly,
Yeah.
So I also am now able to relate to be like, okay, you know what, when that happened, it's actually life. It's just now you're a grown up, so you get to face these things that you wouldn't ordinarily face. When you're young, you're kind of sheltered, like you used to shelter us when we had no idea you were going through all that you were going through. Mothers are strong.
Yeah. So how would you then navigate a situation where life is just throwing you lemons? How would you, now that you know what you know?
You know what? The easy thing to say right now is do not stop fighting. But I know from what I've already experienced how tough it is to push through when you're going through something, because it doesn't just take the physical aspect, it takes the mental ability to be able to push forward. And usually I feel like the emotional too, and I feel like those two that are intangible are the most difficult to deal with.
Yeah, the emotional affects the mindset as well.
Getting yourself to that point where you're like, I'm gonna push, comes from the mind. Before you even have the strength in the body, it comes from the mind. And when you feel defeated in your mind, you are defeated everywhere else. So
yeah, just maintaining that strength of mind is key.
Is key, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So today we're gonna pick up from where we left in episode 3, where you had now relocated to South Africa from Zimbabwe in search of greener pastures.
Yeah, not soon after my firing
experience. When you were fired.
Possibly a year or so after that. Yeah.
The question is, was the grass greener on the other side? Were the pastures as green as you would have wanted them?
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Interesting question.
You can break it down any way you want.
I think I was a bit fortunate when I went, that like I said, for those that listened to episode 3, but for those that haven't, please go. But I'll just give a bit of context. I had a friend whose mother used to go to South Africa to sell her wares in terms of like crocheted doilies that people would use to put in their house for decoration, and handcrafted ornaments. So there'll be like wooden carvings or stone carvings and nice ornaments to decorate the house. So she'd come and sell those things. So my friend spoke to her mom and said, my friend wants to go, but she doesn't know anyone in South Africa. So the mother was willing to come with me to show me, not really show me the ropes per se, I just needed somewhere, a shelter. I just needed a shelter over my head. But she warned me and said, the place that I go and stay is a location. It's like, I don't know, location township for some people. And she would actually come with her friends and stay in mkuku. So mkuku is a tin made house. It's like a shack made of tin roof sheetings. You know, like in some places you use the tin roof sheetings to cover the house. Yeah, so people would actually use those to build a little shack. So they would go and stay in a shack. So she warned me and said,
and those shacks are quite small, hey? Like they're very tiny.
Well, sometimes people build like 4-room shacks.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
some people build 4-room shacks.
So, okay.
And if you walk inside, some of them, they're actually nicely furnished.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think when we used to drive past some locations, we'd see the very small ones.
Some are very small.
Square, like,
some are small, but some people actually build 4-rooms. When you walk in, there's a little kitchen section, lounge section, bedroom section.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she warned me that she was going to stay in a shack. So when we then landed, and not landed because it would look like we flew. When we arrived into South Africa, we took a bus. When I got into South Africa, I had 150 rand to my name.
Let's translate it to US dollars for those who would want to know.
It would be maybe about
7-8 US.
Maybe $7-8 US in today's currency. But then obviously the exchange rate was still more stronger. The rand was still more stronger. So maybe it would have been 20 or 25.
20 or 25 US dollars.
Yeah, something like that. So $25 US. And when the day I arrived, so we got there was a mkuku that she would come, and there was a lady who used to reserve a back room mkuku for them. So when you got there, her friends were also arrived with their children. So it was there was no space for us. So we had to then leave our bags and go looking for a mkuku for the two of us. And because we had limited resources, we didn't have much money, we found ourselves a mkuku that matched our budget. Guys, yo! The mkuku that matched our budget. Oh God. It was spacious in size. It had a little dining section and a little bedroom section. It was like an L-shaped, but it was made of this tin roof. The sheets were like almost rusty. And you know, when I don't know how they layer them, there were gaps in between the layers. And this mkuku was just next to it was next to a main road. And the local bus that would ferry people to the nearest town would use that little place where next to our house is a bus stop. So the bus would get out of the road onto the dust and drop off. So every time the bus came out of the road to drop people off, there would be like a cloud of dust that comes into the air and it would filter into our house. So our house would always be layered in dust. Our clothes, our dishes. Oh, by the way, remember we got there, we have 150. We find this mkuku, it costs 150. So it cost 150. So my friend's mom.
For how long?
A month. It was a monthly rental. So my mom's friend takes 175 rand. I then take 75 rand to contribute our equal portions to the mkuku rental. I'm left with 75 rand. So now we have a place to stay. I came in a little suitcase. So the advice I received was, when you go, you don't need to carry lots of clothes because you're gonna be able to buy new clothes from there. So I just taken a few clothes. And mind you, I was also going to a place that I didn't know, so I didn't want to carry lots of luggage as well. So I just had a few clothes, and I had carried one pair of sandals. It was still summer in March. It was still quite warm, so I carried one sandal. And I don't know what happened as I was crossing in Messina, my sandal just broke. It just broke, and I literally threw it away. And then I got into Messina wearing my friend's mom's size 8 slippers. And I'm a size 5. So imagine a size 5 foot on a size 8 slipper. That's how I arrived in South Africa. This is my introduction to the green pastures.
What an introduction.
I introduced to the green pastures, very big, oversized. And the next thing, then we get a house to stay, which is a mkuku, which is very dusty.
Wow.
So literally, I don't know how many times a day you'd literally be, how do you sit? The moment you step out, you come back, layers of dust.
Do you know something about my mom? She's always sweeping. In a normal house, she like steps on the floor and she feels some particles, and you see her carry a broom, like almost like.
So imagine how I was coping.
On a call, she would just, it's like it's a hobby for her to just like sweep any particles that would have fallen. So I can imagine how she dealt with all of that dust.
I was sweeping and mopping and sweeping and mopping. The other interesting thing, remember I was just saying my friend's mother would bring wares, so she already has a big, parcel with her, so she doesn't normally carry bags or blankets because she's got this place that is reserved. So they probably left some blankets, but now her friends are there with their children. So now we are in our Mkuku, we don't have blankets. Fortunately for us, this Mkuku before we moved in had been used by some people, and I don't know why they just deserted. So they deserted, and then they left a little mattress that was in a corner. They left some blankets.
So who were you paying rent to if it was deserted?
So it was a big yard, and there was another Mkuku and another Mkuku. There was a guy who was like the caretaker.
Okay.
The Mkuku belonged to somebody else, but there was sort of like a caretaker. So the caretaker is the one who gave us access to this Mkuku. But when they opened, they're like, there's some old things. These people just deserted. They left. We don't know if they're coming back. We said, we don't have blankets. Can we please use these blankets? But these blankets are in a dusty Mkuku. The blankets are dusty. The mattress is dusty. The pots and pans that are in the corner are dusty. The guy says, go ahead. We started. So I was left with 75 rand. I don't know how much my friend's mom was left with. So we didn't have a stove, but there was electricity, but we're not allowed to use the electricity because the bill was going to be high. So we then went to the nearest shop. We bought a paraffin stove. We bought some paraffin. We bought some fuel, like I don't know whether it was menial, and some relish for the day, potatoes, whatever. And then my 75 rand was finished because we made equal contributions, right? So she also contributed to the cost, and then we bought a bit of groceries. We came back, we bought some washing soap. We are busy now washing blankets, washing pots and pans, dusting them. We've just arrived. We traveled overnight. Yeah,
How many hours? Like more than 16?
Possibly. Yeah. I think we actually, I don't know what was happening in those days. There was fuel shortages in Zim. So we had taken like a little quantum, like a mini bus. We didn't take a proper bus. So we traveled from Harare to Bay Bridge overnight. So we left Harare, I think around 7. We only arrived around 7 the next day. So we took 12 hours to get to Bay Bridge, which normally is like a 5-6 hour drive. I don't know. I think we were stopping on the way looking for fuel and trying to,
those days
we were going through a lot in Zim at that time.
I remember there was a lot going on.
Yeah, so we're stopping looking for, fuel on the road. And then so 12 hours, a distance that normally we would travel for 6 hours, we took 12 hours. We got to the border, we crossed the border, we then took a train because we wanted to cut costs. So taking a bus or a taxi was going to be expensive. So we took a train from Messina, but the train was only going to leave in the evening. So we spent the day in Messina and then waited for the evening train and then traveled overnight to Pretoria. So we actually arrived
it wasn't as slow then, the train?
No, the train wasn't slow.
Okay.
It was like probably fast train. I don't know. I was tired, I think. Probably was sleeping. I don't know. But we arrived the next morning. 5-6 o'clock, we're getting off the train. People are rushing to get in.
I've actually never heard of that option that you can take a train.
That was the first time I used a train from Messina, and that was the last time.
That goes to show you that it wasn't ideal.
Yeah, it is a Messina to Pretoria train or to Joburg train. But normally when we were driving, we'd be going to Zim. So you wouldn't want to stop in Messina and then connect again. So you just take a straight bus or drive straight or whatever, or hike. So I think Messina trains are for people that are just traveling locally within the country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's still there, but so I left Harare, arrived in South Africa 1.5 days later. Wow. Tired, hungry, got to the Mkuku, started washing because we didn't have blankets.
These are blankets, 2-in-1.
No, they were not. I think they were cheap ones, the grey one. I don't know. The grey lined ones.
Not those ones.
The thin grey ones. Yeah.
And just washing a blanket is a lot.
Yeah. So we washed blankets, we cleaned the pots, we dusted the house, mopped and whatever, and we had a house clean for ourselves. And life was good to go.
It was great that you found things there for you.
Yeah.
Because
it was a blessing. I think.
God was like looking out,
definitely.
Even in the difficult situation.
I wasn't looking at it as a difficult situation. I was like, I have a roof to sleep. I have a roof over my head. I've got a mattress to sleep on.
You had the half glass full mentality and not empty.
Yeah.
So basically, she was still very hopeful and faith-filled.
Yeah.
Which is the mindset that she needs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it keeps coming through, no matter how you had already gone through, I guess, most of the painful, like one of the most painful experiences
Of being fired.
and you
Exactly.
still could keep your head up.
Yeah.
And I read that you had your degree at the bottom of the suitcase in that mukuku.
In that mukuku, my degree certificate. I carried it. Remember, I had come to look for a job.
Yes.
So one thing that also warned me, besides me arriving and staying in Mkuku, was the chances of you really getting a job immediately when you get there are slim. So you might need to look for the next best option to survive. So I was already geared to say, I don't mind. Remember, I've left a child and my daughter, my two daughters, my daughter and my niece, and there was a helper as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to send money quickly. I needed to use my hands or do whatever to raise money to send, because the people I left are like, oh, mommy has gone. So at the end of the month, we expect rent to be paid, we expect food to be bought. So I knew I didn't have the luxury of choice in terms of work. Yeah, so we got to bed that evening. The next day, obviously, I'm tired. There's a knock on the, I don't know if it was a wooden door or a metal door, I'm not sure, but there was a knock.
Yeah.
Because apparently this Mkuku was also being used, those ladies used to stay there as a hairdressing salon. So they would also like double up. They stayed there, but they would also use it as a hairdressing salon for people in the community who came to do their hair. So now there's a knock on the door. My mom, I'm gonna call her mom right now. Mommy goes to the door, she opens the door. And then mommy, because she used to go there and sell her wares, so she could speak Setswana, the local language of people that stay in Tshwane, which is Pretoria. So she could speak Setswana. So she converses with these people in Setswana. And then after speaking to them, she calls out to me, Jessica, are you able to plait hair? And I'm like, I've plaited hair. I've plaited my daughter. I used to do little cornrows here and there, or braids here and there, but not so neat, Yeah, but professionally, or to do it to a stranger, I was gonna pay. I don't know. I don't trust myself. But then I'm like, this is the first opportunity. Remember, I've used my last 75 rand the previous day. I don't have money.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can do hair. Oh, there's a lady here who wants to go to work, and she came here because she knows there were people who used to, she was referred, and they told her that people used to do hair. So she wants to have her hair done. So I get up, quickly freshen up, and then I ask her what she, obviously, and luckily, fortunately, the hairstyle wasn't a complicated hairstyle.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm standing there, braids in my head, tail comb in my head, trying to put the lines, and I'm praying in my heart. I'm like, God help me. God help me to get the lines straight. God help me to get the tension right, the thickness of the braids. Like, I was not sure of what I was doing, but I was just praying under my breath and saying, God help me. And by the time I finished, I was like, I don't even know if I did a good job. I'm not really sure if I did a good job. And then she looks in the mirror and she's excited. She's like, thank you so much. I love it. I love it. And I'm busy thinking, oh my God, what have I done? And she loved it.
God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. And then I begged my first 40 rand.
Wow.
That was my first income in South Africa. The first 40
Wow.
rand. Yeah.
The money came to you.
It came to me. I was sleeping, and it came.
That is nice.
Yeah.
I love
That was a turning point. Things were kind of like looking up. It was like, you've gone into a new environment, you're starting on a clean slate, things were opening up.
Yeah,
it was,
like every day there was provision, every day there was something coming your way.
Yeah, things were happening, and I was now seeing life slightly different compared to the period that I had been, where things were just like closed door, doors shutting in my face continuously.
Wow, I can imagine. She's speaking like this from like receiving her first 50 rands. If we translate that would have probably been $5 US. But look at how she was viewing things, like there is an opening. Yeah. As long as there's an opening, that's all I want. Yeah. That opening is what
I just needed that 40 rand and another 40 rand, and then this little 40 rands would add up to something.
You see?
Yeah.
So that's something we need to really point out, so that people see that it's not that things were great. You had left a whole 3-bedroom house where we were living.
Yes.
And you were staying in a Mukuku.
Yes. I had left a 3-bedroom house in a low density area.
Very like we were living.
Yeah, our lives were we're moving up the ladder gradually, but we were going somewhere there was light. We were Yeah.
Whew, wow. And then how did the days after that
Yeah. And then I got another hairdressing gig. And another lady came, but she had a slightly more complicated hairstyle. This time I was really, really, really unsure of what I was doing. So I continued to pray, and I was not really happy with the job. I was like, I don't think I can do this, because the more complicated the hairstyles, I risk disappointing my clients. So, but with that one, I managed to finish the hairstyle. It was good enough. She paid 60 rand. So I was like, okay, we're going up. Yeah.
In the bag.
Yeah. So yeah. But then after that, I said, you know what? Let me stick to something that I'm a bit familiar with, because I don't intend to do this hairdressing thing for long. Let me just get work that I know if I get it, I don't have to really stress about whether I'm delivering or not. And the next best job in that environment that we were in was cleaning and ironing.
Wow.
For people.
Wow. Guys, just imagine, we are back there in the 3-bedroom house that she left us in, with a nanny, with a helper. Taking care of us. We're expecting mommy to send money, and mommy is now helping others
clean their houses
and using that income to fund our life and pay our helper.
Exactly. Yeah, so I obviously started advertising, putting word out there, and then I got a couple of gigs. People would ask me to come and clean their houses. You start with washing dishes that probably were dirty for 2-3 days, sinks full of dishes, or maybe the person knows I'm going to bring in somebody on Saturday. They have dishes from Thursday that are just piling up. You come in on Saturday, you wash the dishes, you clean the house. They wash the laundry either using a machine, and then you do the ironing. So I'll be standing for hours on end, ironing, bedding, clothes, jeans,
And I'm sure you hadn't done such work.
I hadn't done such work in a while. I'd always had somebody, and remember, I was before I got fired, I was working in this strenuous job where I would leave the office and get home, I'm tired, and then I was also studying, so I would come home quite late, and the work would be done. The lady would be looking after the kids, would have ironed, washed, cooked. I would just find my supper ready. So now here I am, standing for hours on end, ironing for other people, with my degree,
with your degree
stuffed under my suitcase. At one point, this lady, you know how when you continuously, so you go and do a service, you offer a service, you do it well, and then they call you back again. So this lady, one of the ladies, would now come every, I don't know which day she would come, but it was a weekly thing. So now I knew I had a 40 rand, a weekly 40 rand. So I started advertising for the other days where I didn't have work. Then here and there you'd pick
How were you advertising?
I think in that time we were not a lot of people in the area, not a lot of Zimbabweans in the area. So
were you leaving your number?
You tell somebody to tell word of mouth.
Oh,
Word of mouth. Yeah, it was mostly word of mouth actually. Yeah. So people ended up knowing, oh, if you need help, there's that Zimbabwean at that house, there's Zimbabwean at that house. So that's how they would know. So then she would come, this lady. I had now a weekly standing appointment with her. She would come and pick me up. I go to her house, do the work. At the end of the day, drops me off. I had this standing appointment with this lady, and then as you get used to each other, you start conversing, you start talking social. Oh, so in Zim, where do you come? What do you used to do? What kind of work did you? I don't know whether they can pick when you're communicating that. I don't know. But then they're like, so what did you used to do? You know, I hesitated for a bit. I'm midway ironing. I'm like, you're asking me what kind of job I used to do before I left. So, and I'm like, I'm an accountant by profession, by qualification, and And he's like, accountant? So why are you ironing? I'm like, it's just a stepping stone. I came here, I didn't know anything more, so I've got kids in Zim, I've got responsibilities. For now, I'm just doing this work so that I can manage to survive while I look for that opportunity, to break through. She was surprised. She was very surprised.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they think you leave your country because you're not as educated, don't have options, like in terms of like anything else, any other skill.
Yeah, but sometimes necessity makes you do the things that you wouldn't ordinarily do. So I worked there and did these menial chores for like 2 months.
Wow.
2 months, yeah. Ironing, washing. I remember one incident where the lady didn't want her clothes machine washed. She wanted her clothes hand washed, and she wanted me to hand wash. And there were lots of jeans in that laundry. At the end of that day, when I was walking back home, I think she had paid me 60 rand for that day. My knuckles, you know when your skin comes off? Yeah. My knuckles, the skin, and from scrubbing the hard material. Some of these jeans, when you put them in water, they even toughen up.
Yeah.
So imagine scrubbing. Towards the end of that laundry, I couldn't scrub the jeans anymore. I ended up just asking, can I use a brush to because I couldn't, because I was my knuckles were painful, the skin had come off.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
That must have been torture.
It was painful. And remember, when you're hand washing, you're bending over on a bathtub.
Oh my
so
goodness,
your back is sore, your hands are sore, it was a lot.
And we're thinking, Mommy's in South Africa, guys. No, and she would send clothes,
Yeah.
We started getting different clothes now. We started getting different groceries from South Africa, and we were so excited.
Yeah, that very month, the first month I sent
Norway.
groceries home from the collection of the 40s and the
She
60
would
rands.
call, long calls just to catch up and really find out how we're doing.
Just to check if they're okay.
Yeah.
And
And
I was staying in a cuckoo and adjusting the house 4 times a day.
I'm so sorry.
It was part of the journey, actually. It's part of the journey that I didn't know I needed to travel.
The journey that you didn't know.
It was part of the journey that I didn't know I needed to travel.
Like it sounds like you were very diligent in whatever you do.
Yeah.
You don't do things half-heartedly. You go full on.
I got full on.
Because I'm sure someone else would be like, bye.
Then what?
You
go buy and then what? And then what do you eat? And then what do you send your kids that you left in them? So you actually don't have a choice. Yeah. Till that lucky day when I got the call that changed my life.
Big break moment.
Yeah.
Because
until
the pastures were not pasturing.
but as much as you might have, because you are seeing the back story of the money that was coming to you, you're now seeing what was happening for the money to become. But when you were there receiving the money, you were okay.
That was good.
I was satisfied that I've sent money, groceries are there, the kids are fed, so I'm happy. Yeah. So
everything was ticked off.
Yeah. So I was like, whether I'm not comfortable, at the end of the day, my feet are sore, my back is sore. I'll soak my feet in warm water. At the end of the day, I'll rub my feet. I'll rest. Tomorrow I'll wake up renewed.
Wow.
Life goes on.
Look at you saying all of that now. You're in the UK. Yeah. Second time in the UK, just to highlight that,
Yeah, we thank God.
For leisure purposes and for book promotion.
Yeah. But besides me being in this good space that I am in right now, and I'm thankful for God for that, there are probably other people out there who are still struggling to get that break. And sometimes it means that you might have to take a few steps back for you to launch forward. Again, we talk about, I think in a previous episode we talked about stepping back to launch forward. Here again, I was faced with a situation where I had to step back, put my degree under my suitcase, and do manual work for me to just survive, stabilize, and then be able to start.
But you were definitely a tough one. If we could describe you as like one of those plants that are able to survive in the harshest conditions. Because it was not like you would get a break those days, like for a long time.
No, the break was
like,
not.
You get the promotion and then you're already fighting.
Exactly.
You get this and then you're already fighting.
Yeah.
So, okay, usher us into the next phase of your life there in South Africa, the big call.
So, I had at that time my niece who had also then come to South Africa and was staying in the city. The closest city being Pretoria, now called Tshwane, and she was staying with a friend. And the friend did a good job, and they were staying in this nice, poshy, leafy suburb in the eastern side of Pretoria. So she had once come to say, oh, well, let me go and visit my aunt. And then she came and visited me. So we're walking in the dusty streets of Lehlabile, we're talking. Sometimes you make peace with where you are. So we were busy laughing, enjoying our environment, we're sharing. She had once visited a place, another place where they were mkuku. So we're talking about all these experiences and we're laughing. And she's telling me that you're better off because this side where you're staying, there is no sewages flowing on the streets. There are parts where you actually get,
it could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. So we're laughing about that. And then as she was now leaving after spending a day or two, she then says, where I stay, there's opportunities to get jobs. So can you just give me your CV? Those days we still moved around with either CVs on our phones. I don't think I had a smartphone actually at that time. I didn't have a smartphone. So we'd actually print our CVs. I had a printed CV. Yeah. So she asked for my CV and I gave her a couple of
cafe days, the internet cafe days.
Yes, you'd go to the internet cafe. I think you would send CVs on email using internet, the laptops not laptops,
The
computers. Yes, the
cafes.
desktops from the internet cafes. But we didn't have smartphone. I didn't have a smartphone. And then so I gave her my CV. And then she said she will, as she looks for her own job, she will also be throwing my CV around as well. And off she left with my CV.
Wow.
Until one day, I'm sleeping, early hours of the morning, I received a call. She had called me the previous day to tell me she had just secured a job. So she tells me about how she secured a job, which was also a miracle from her side, and we're excited. I think it was the next day. And then
So she came to South Africa after you?
she came to South Africa after me.
Oh, how long after?
I said 2 months, a month or two, something like that.
So 2 months after you?
Yeah,
And she starts living in a great suburb.
with her friend. Yeah.
Very peaceful transition into
yeah,
South Africa.
yeah.
And then gets a job immediately, almost immediately. And you were excited for her.
Yes.
That's important. I just wanted to highlight that. She mentioned that we celebrated her.
Yeah.
A day before, she had gotten a job, like the cousin had gotten a job.
The niece.
They both celebrate. There's something about being able to celebrate other people, even when you have been struggling for longer, that can even unlock your blessings that quick.
Interesting.
Next day delivery type of blessings. So it's
I
important.
actually had not looked at it like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
actually
important
didn't.
to keep a clear heart and be ready for your blessing, because when God says it's then time, nothing will block you, nothing will delay it any further.
I actually hadn't thought of it in that way, but it's actually profound, the way you put it. Yeah, because what I just know is we were happy and excited for her. And she's busy telling me about her work, the environment, what's happening. And I'm
it's
like,
so
"Yay."
different from the South Africa that you've experienced for the past 2
Yeah,
months.
the South Africa I had experienced is washing clothes for people. She has gotten a job in a mall, one of the big malls in Pretoria. She's working in an office. She sits in an office on a computer with a phone next to her. She's got a job where she gets breakfast and lunch at work.
Internet,
She's staying with a friend who stays in the suburbs.
in the nice estates,
Yeah,
complexes,
yeah,
in
yeah.
literally
Yeah,
suburbs.
suburbs, yeah.
Like
Those days-
were Pretoria East.
Yeah.
If you know Pretoria East is like suburb areas. you know.
Yeah. So she's staying in this nice environment, and oh wow, well done, congratulations. So how is it? Yeah.
You have to be willing to congratulate other people and still know that your turn will come. Because I feel like sometimes being able to celebrate other people comes from the point of knowing that you too, it will happen for you one day. Because sometimes people don't celebrate other people because subconsciously they don't believe that it's going to happen for them. The reason why it hurts for them, that jealousy spirit comes from low-key subconsciously thinking that it can't happen. So
Yeah.
you still had faith
That it could happen.
that it could happen.
Yes, true.
And
True what you're saying, knowing that it's going to happen for you, but also knowing that each one has a different race and a different path. Whatever the other person experiences might not happen to you. But if you are content knowing we all have our different paths, and I should just walk my race in my own path and not compete with somebody else who's got a different path that is different from mine, then you won't have to compete.
yes.
So even if they get something that you don't have, it's their path, it's their season.
Exactly.
I might get it, I might not get it, but I should be okay.
Yes.
Because maybe I'll get something different, or I might not even get it, but God knows what He has planned for me. And whatever He's planned for me is good.
Wow.
So the next day, I'm sleeping in the morning, wondering when I'm gonna get somebody else to call me to come and do their laundry or to do their ironing. and I'm hoping it's not gonna be hand washing laundry. I'm hoping it's just gonna be maybe they've done their laundry in the washing machine, in the machine. They've done their laundry in the machine, and I just get to iron or clean windows. Cleaning of windows was another difficult task. Yo, guys. But anyway, so in the morning, I'm like, oh, today I don't have a gig. Today I don't have an appointment. Can somebody just call me? Because every single day that passes, obviously you're gonna eat, you're gonna use whatever you have in your house. You can't just sit and not work.
Yeah.
You wanna work every day because just sitting is a cost.
It's like your 9 to 5.
Yeah, it's a cost. So I'm like, oh, I don't have work today. And then my phone rings. My niece is on the other line, on the end of the line. And then she says, hey, guess what just happened? I'm like, okay, what happened? She's like, I was busy going through the workplace. The workplace was a Wednesday newspaper, and there was a Wednesday newspaper in Pretoria, and it had an extra piece, sort of like an annexure way. It was called the workplace, and they would post jobs, job vacancies. So she's going through the workplace, and remember, it's just a few days after she got the job. But in her mind, she's thinking, oh, okay, let me try and see if I can, what new offerings there out there, if I can see if I can move to another better job, you know. Sometimes when you get to a place, sometimes you want to check if you can get a better job or benchmark to see, is this the best paying job that I can, bag. So she's busy going through the workplace, and then her boss walks in. She hadn't heard him coming, and suddenly, boom. And then he just calls out her name and says, what are you looking for? You're looking for a job a few days after I've hired you. Thank God for quick wit. This niece of mine, she's gonna quit me. She's gonna quit. She thought on her feet because she was like, I'm in trouble. She's like, no, I'm not looking for a job for myself. I'm looking for a job for my auntie. And then he says, who's your auntie? And then instead of saying, my auntie is 70 kilometers out of town, she says, my auntie is, I told you I stay here in this place. So we stay together. He's like, oh, what does your auntie do? Oh, my auntie is an accountant. Do you have a CV? She had my CV. She pulls out my CV from her bag. She shows the boss. The boss goes through. He's like, oh, impressive CV. Okay, tell your auntie to call my friend. I've got a friend with an accounting company, wara. And then she calls me. That's when he stepped out, and then she calls me like, guess what? I was caught and I was almost in trouble, so I then dropped your name. So apparently now you need to call this person. This person has got job offerings for this kind of position. And when you speak to this person, say that you've been referred by, then she gives the name of the boss. I'm like, okay. So remember, I'm still in the house. She called me and I was in bed. She's like, and my phone, I think that time I didn't have airtime, so I needed to go to the nearest phone booth. That time they had like containers where they had public phones. So I'm thinking, I'm gonna get up and freshen up and then go to the phone booth to make that call. So she leaves me with the numbers of the person I'm supposed to call. I'm not sure if it was like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or even an hour I had not called. And then she calls again. So I'm looking at the phone, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. She's gonna ask me, have you called? And then she's gonna think I'm not serious that I haven't called. So I pick up the phone and I'm hesitating that she's gonna be like, have you called? And I don't wanna lie, I don't wanna lie to say. And then she's like, oh, guess what? Change of mind. I'm like, okay. She's like, my boss has decided that he wants to interview you himself. He wants to offer you a job. I'm like, what? He's like, so you better get here today because I said you stay with me. So you said bring your auntie tomorrow when you come to work. So you better get on the bus or taxi and come to Pretoria tonight. I've already called my friend and told her that auntie has secured an interview. So she said you're free to come and stay in her house. So I'm like, Pretoria?
What a beautiful mess.
I'm like, Pretoria, I've been to the city once or twice. I don't even know how to navigate. I'm scared of walking in Pretoria. It was like scary for me. There was a language barrier. It was a new city.
All I knew was the community.
I just knew the community, which was out of town where I was staying. So I was even scared of moving in Pretoria. I'm like, I have to get to the CBD, and then from the CBD, come to where you are in the east. How do I even get it? Like,
back then, there was no GPS.
Was there GPS?
No, there was no GPS.
I didn't even have a smartphone.
You write down the directions.
Also, I wrote directions.
Yeah.
Possibly. I think I did write on a piece of paper or maybe she texted. I don't remember. But yeah, there was no GPS. So he's like, no, don't worry. If you follow this direction that I give you, I'll tell you where to take out a taxi, where to drop off.
I wonder how someone could actually connect. Because you didn't know where you were coming from, unless you had to work together to come up with the directions.
Remember, she had visited once.
Oh, she had visited.
She had visited once, so she had taken a taxi. So she kind of like knew how to get into town, and then from town to where she was staying, she knew.
Okay.
Yeah. So now,
what just happened? In a space of 2 days, things can change so much.
I think I was.
One day
I was. You know when you
up,
are numb.
yeah.
You know when you're numb and you can't even believe that things are changing.
Now you're numb from excitement. The
I was
previous
numb and
numbness we're talking about was the numbness from disappointment.
Yes.
But now you're
Now
numb.
I'm like, what's going on? Is my life changing? This morning, I was actually expecting a call to say, please come and wash my clothes. But instead of receiving a call that says, please come and wash my clothes, I'm getting a call to say, I want to interview you for a potential office job. That was
finally your degree that was dust at the bottom of the suitcase.
That's gonna come in handy now. Yeah, it was gonna come. So I then followed the instructions, arrived where she said, obviously communicating via phone. By the time I got to the terminus, she was waiting for me. Then we went to a friend's house. That evening, I bathed in a bathtub.
Oh.
I had last bathed in a bathtub
back in
Zimbabwe. One thing that I didn't mention about mukukus.
Yeah.
A mukuku is just a house. It doesn't have like plumbing.
Wait.
So they would in the yard they would just install maybe a tap here. So you go and put water in a bucket. And most people that stay in Kuku, they don't even have a shower. So you either use a bucket. I was using a bucket, but it was not allowed. People would bath in dishes, small dishes. You bath in your room in a dish. And I was like, guys, I can't do this because I always splash water. So I'll just go to the toilet, which is in the corner at the back of the yard, and water would just be flowing out. So I'll bath from a little bucket or a little dish But
so
there wasn't proper shower.
The toilet.
No, there was no lock, but there was no lock. You just close it.
Security risk, but wow.
You bath during the day.
Yeah.
So I bathed in a shower that evening, and I slept in a double bed, and it felt like luxury. It was something that
you had missed.
I was missing.
Long.
I was only seeing these tubs and whatever way I was cleaning houses. Yeah. And that very
the washing spots not for you to use.
Not for me to use, exactly. So that evening I slept in a double bed, wondering how the interview the next day for a potential.
Anxious? Were you like, this is happening, or like were you like,
I think I had
skeptical.
I'm trying to recall exactly how I felt. I think I had been in a very difficult situation for a very long time. I was just numb. I think I was numb. I was hopeful, I was prayerful, but I was numb to pain, I think I was gotten to a point where I was numb to pain. And even when this was happening, I'm like, the way it has happened, I actually didn't apply for this job. So how can God then just make somebody call me, I haven't applied, and then deny me? I think I was more positive that I was I was positive.
The way it's happening,
it was just like
done deal.
I'm going for an interview for a job that I
what
didn't
are the
apply
odds that the boss walks in on your niece and she has to lie
and lie on her feet,
and he actually follows up with, let's see the CV.
Exactly. She lies on her feet. She uses my name. She takes out my CV. The boss is impressed by my CV. It refers me to someone. After referring to someone, comes back an hour later and say, no. Instead of asking her to call this person, tell her to come. I want to interview her. I've got a job for her.
You know those kind of miracles that happen that you can say it was just God. When someone's like, how did you don't even?
I can't explain it.
You can't explain.
I can't explain it.
You just say it was God.
Yeah.
That's when he shows up and he shows himself to be God. That is like one of those moments.
Sure.
For sure. Still amazes me too.
Yeah. So my life
God
was
bless that man.
Yeah, he was a godsend.
Yeah.
The boss himself was a godsend. My niece was used by God, and she obeyed. Everything was just in the right place at the right time, right response, right reaction. You know, she had the CV with her, and the boss just loved my CV. So the next day, in the morning, she's getting ready. I get ready. We take a taxi together. She introduces me to her boss. She goes to her office. She starts working. I sit in a secluded place that he had assigned, and we have our interview. And the rest was history. But I was supposed to then start work 2 weeks after that. So he says, okay, I want to engage you, but you'll come after 2 weeks. So I then went back to Zimbabwe. Firstly, to go and look for more extra work. I needed to raise money for transport because now so when I got the job, I told my niece. My niece then calls a friend. Hey, my friend, my auntie got a job, but she doesn't have anywhere to stay. The friend is like, no, she's welcome to come and stay in my house.
Yeah, that was a wonderful friend as well.
Yeah, she's welcome to come and stay in my house. So now I have a place to stay. I have a job. Now I need to go and raise money because at least I can't be borrowing money for transport as well. I've got a shelter, they're offering all this food and everything. So at least let me just fund my own. So I went and I was just praying for work. I'm like, God, give me extra, give me. And
I love how you.
So I need money for transport.
You don't have any entitled mentality.
Okay.
Yeah. Even with all of that, someone would have been like, hi, it's my time to relax and rest.
Yeah.
Can they just help me? Like, it's just borrowing or like they're just lending.
They'll lend me and then I'll pay back.
Give them back. But you were like, nope, I'm going to finish up what I started there for the next 2 weeks and come back. Yeah. Someone would have been like, I'm done with that life. I'm not going back there.
Yeah. I could have said, oh, I'll come and wait for the 2 weeks while I stay here.
And be like, just at home. But there's something about your character that will say, no, nope. That's not me. I will continue to do my best. I will continue to finish what I started.
Yeah.
And we continue to see that in every situation. Like, you stay consistent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went back, worked for 2 weeks, continued with my they called them peace jobs in South Africa. Continued with my peace jobs. Raised a bit of money now, which I needed to split, partly sent to Zim, partly keep for myself for transport. And then, so the other thing was the boss had offices in Pretoria and he also had offices in Joburg in 4 ways. He had operations in 4 ways. So I was appointed to work in 4 ways. But I was gonna work for 2 weeks, just doing training in Pretoria. Then after those 2 weeks, I was supposed to then move to 4 ways.
Wow.
And I didn't have an idea where 4 ways was.
Where was 4 ways?
I've just moved to Pretoria. I'm only getting to figure out how to move around Pretoria. Now you're telling me I need to go to 4 ways. Where is 4 ways?
4 ways is also one of the nice suburbs of South Africa.
Yeah.
So just picture that.
So now I have to go and work in 4 ways. So for those 2 weeks, fortunately, what happened is I would go to the office, work, and then sometimes he would then go with me to 4 ways. So we got used to each other. I would sit next to him in his Mercedes Benz.
And you were looking at your life like, wow.
I would be sitting next to this.
I went from being picked up to going to do piece jobs, washing gyms. Now I'm being picked up to go work in an office job.
Yeah.
What a transition.
Yeah. So you pick me up, laptop in hand, drop me, come at the end of the day, check his operations, pick me up, drop me in Pretoria. First week passed. He asks me, have you managed to secure a place to stay in around 4 ways, in 4 ways or closer? Because after the 2 weeks of training, I won't be going back and forth between Pretoria and Joburg the way I'm doing. I'll be coming occasionally or later during the day, so I won't be able to transport you. So you need to find a place to stay. I was trying to put feelers. I was trying to look for a place to stay. And based on the agreement and the money that we had agreed he was going to pay me, and the budget that I thought I was now drafting for myself, and the money that I was going to be sending home and fees and everything, and and now my knowledge now of four ways, because now he's driving with me around Pine Slopes.
And you can just see.
I can see the square. I can see Pine Slopes. I'm like, these houses are expensive. I can't afford them. So now I'm looking at the peripheries of four ways. I'm thinking maybe for me to afford, I should stay in Diepsloot, or maybe stay in Joburg CBD, or in Alex. These are townships that are bordering, where people can actually commute to four ways. So I'm thinking maybe this is where I should, but I didn't have the time to go and look for a place there. So I'm asking my colleagues and other people who know the places, guys, can you also help me? But unfortunately, nothing was forthcoming. So my boss asks me after the first week, have you managed to get a place? I'm like, no, not yet. As we go into the second week, have you managed to get a place? I'm like, no, not yet. Now I'm panicking. But in my mind, I'm like, I might fail to get a place. When push comes to a shove, even if it means, those days they used to have places in Joburg CBD where they called them rent a space. You come and rent a space in a room, you just find a space for you to sleep, you pay for the night. I was ready to say, if I don't get a place to stay, I'll go and do rent a space, go to work, come back, go to work until I secure a place. I was gonna do that. And then he says to me, I have a flat in Pine Slopes.
Wow.
In a townhouse. I've got a townhouse, and some of my managers are going to be staying there. If you don't mind, they are male. If you don't mind sharing with male, you can go and stay there. Then I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to afford the rental of a place in four ways, especially in Pine Slopes. I won't be able to afford that. He's like, no, you won't pay anything. You just need to bring your bags.
Just like that.
Just like that.
From Kuku.
So that day we drove back to Pretoria, and I'm thinking, and then he says, think about it, before we go back, we can pass by the flat and then you can have a look. And you can see if you like it. I'm like, how can I not like it? I don't. Do you think I even have a choice? I was ready to go and sleep in a rent a space place. I was ready to do that if I did. I was looking for a shack or a little house or a room or wherever, and if push had come to shove, I was gonna go and sleep in Joburg. So how can you say a townhouse in Pine Slope is something I need to check if I like? From the outside, just looking outside, it looks neat enough and luxurious enough. Yeah, he says no. Let's and then he comes to the office a bit later on. He's like, "Are you ready? Do you want to go and pass by the flat?" And then we go to the flat. Just on our way, we leave the office, we go to the flat. After that, we were gonna go back to Pretoria. We walk in there, and then he says to me, the other 3 rooms, there were 3 rooms, he says the other room is an ensuite. Somebody had already moved in there. I'm gonna ask them to move out of that ensuite so that you occupy the ensuite.
When favor locates you.
Guys, I was like, pinching myself. I'm like, is this happening to me? Is this me? So after the 2, so I drove back home. I drove back to Pretoria that day, knowing in the book I actually put it as I was a rent-free tenant of a house that I could not afford. I'm now a tenant in a house that I wouldn't ordinarily afford.
God. Have you guys ever checked out YouTube channels where people are like, God gave me an apartment rent-free? She would make such a YouTube video and it would be based on a true story. Because sometimes I see those titles and I'm like, how? But she lived it. You lived that.
I lived it. Yeah. So 2 weeks later, come end of month, officially moved to Four Ways. I just worked, I think I'd worked 10 days, 10 working days. I'd worked 10 working days. I got the salary that was obviously proportionate to the 10 days. Part of it sent home, part of it, it's now winter. I need to buy blankets, I need to buy this for my new home. I also needed to buy winter clothes. Remember when I come, it was summer, so now we're getting into winter. I need winter clothes for work and everything. So by the time I moved into my new apartment, luxurious 3-bedroom house that I was sharing with my fellow with an ensuite, I didn't have a bed. I was sleeping on the floor. So I'm living in this luxurious place. I'm sleeping on the floor. I've got my 2 blankets. I fold one. And it was winter.
I did not see that coming. I know the story, but yeah, I love how she narrates this.
Luxurious house, spacious bedroom. I come from work. I go into the bathtub, I soak myself in the foam bath, and then from the bathtub I go and sleep on the floor. But I was content. I was happy. I wasn't even bothered. I was like, I'm okay. When the time comes at the end of the month, I'll buy the bed. Which I did at the end of the month.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my first professional job that I did when I came to South Africa.
Wow.
And that's the journey to the professional job.
So much to think about, to digest, to take away from this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love your faith, your ability to be content when the surroundings are not giving you things to be content about.
Exactly. I think I was content for life, just being alive, just being able to wake up and say, maybe I can do something different today. That opportunity to be able to hope, I think that was the biggest thing. The fact that I can do something. If I get another day, I can do something. That was just what I needed. Yeah. But as you might listen, you might think that was the end of the problems. You might think it was all
Now
uphill
we've
and
reached
uphill.
the pinnacle.
You think it was just now uphill? No, it wasn't.
She continued.
There were more concrete
to
walls.
sugar.
There were more concrete walls, and stay tuned for episode 5, where we continue to unpack shooting through concrete walls and share with you some of these concrete walls that I had to shoot through.
Yes, and make sure to click the subscribe button, like and comment what situations you've had to shoot through and what part of the episode today you found the most encouraging to you. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.